For me, as a older autistic with cerebral palsy, was it my own laptop computer, which I am making this was a video weblog here. Is not so much for playing games or anything like that. I use my laptop computer for communicating with other adults on the autism spectrum and also the cerebral palsy disability spectrum, which of course I'm also on too. And my computer is also used for just the firmware development for my P-Basic Stamp microcontroller. Was it engineering hardware with a firmware development kit, and it is also only for the computer aided design using with my CAD software. DesignWorks, which I have for drawing schematic diagrams. Drawing schematic diagrams to design and build circuits that I could use with this microcontroller, engineering development kit. My computer is not really a toy. It's just simply a tool for me. To be able to reach out into the outside world, and also to do my own technical tinkering, which is of course part of what I did as a for a career before I got essentially put out to pasture and couldn't get another job anywhere else in the high technology electronics industry, because most of it around here in this area was at where I live in southeastern New Hampshire, northeastern Massachusetts, has gotten outsourced to the commies in Beijing. So most of the time I just pretend to be an engineering design development technician, instead of really being one. Of course I was one. The last job I ever worked at. Back almost 14 years ago. But I miss that employment. But yet, in some ways, I do not miss the employment, because we older adults on the autism spectrum many of us ended up getting cognitively burned out from having to try to try to function. Although the rest were classified as more able, end up getting burned out trying to pass for normal, and it just doesn't work in the end. So anyways, I just still like to tinker with engineering, and I also have all my good electronic tools for working with electronics. Hand tools, my two digital multimeters, my Tektronix TDS210 with a dual trace storage oscilloscope, totally digital. My Hewlett-Packard Logic Analyzer, and I got a triple output power supply that I bought from Heathkit many years ago. That I use it's got one 5-volt output, I use for TTL or CMOS. and I got and the other two outputs are with the 0 to 20 volts that could either be independent, independent sources, or was it you can one volt source will track the other one for was it creating for you using as was it bipolar, was it voltage sources, was it biasing biasing the operational amplifiers and other analog circuitry. I also signal generators, two function generators. One's the Instack, that made by Instack, that DC to 3 megahertz, sine, square wave, and triangle wave was an output, with also TTL CMOS pulse output, and also was it a B&K precision function generator that also has a swept function. Was it a frequency sweep function, which can be used for shall I say generating curves of passive or active filters, which are of course another type of analog circuit. So I do have so essentially I do have the basics, for whatever electronic tinkering I want to take and do whenever I want to, that just to keep my mind occupied.